Good morning, Eva.
Hello, Tessy. Good
How are
morning.
you? And where are you?
I am fine, thank you very much. Despite the weather here in Holland, I'm looking out of the window, is very rainy and windy. So this is definitely not the summer we had hoped for.
Oh, yeah, here in Switzerland, as you can see, the weather is beautiful. That's why I decided not to put a filter behind my video today because the weather is so not. This is the perfect filter, I guess. We
I
have 28 degrees today, and yeah,
agree.
it's
Oh,
beautiful.
it looks beautiful. I'm definitely envious now of you, Tessie. It looks so gorgeous. Here we're sitting inside. Some people have the heating on. I am not joking. It is unbelievable. But a normal summer in Holland, what can we do?
Well, it's wonderful to hear you, and thank you for your time. So, for my wonderful listeners now who do not know Eva yet, Eva is a gemstone specialist and a jewelry designer, creates her own beautiful creations, which I have seen firsthand when I met her already in Sark Island because of Montessori. So you came for a gala there that we did with Leonore together with Montessori. And you were just enchanting me with all of your beautiful creations that you're also wearing. I remember these earrings
Yeah.
and yeah, just all of the stories. And I thought to myself, an interesting Zoom o'clock would be where we talk about gemstones and also about diamonds. So we will start off with diamonds and then we will go over to your specializations, gemstones. But to really just kind of like bust some myths because there's that myth, of course, diamonds are a girl's best friend. We love our diamonds.
Yep.
Absolutely, but there is so many other gemstones out there which are not well known, which are more expensive, more rare, and just stunning. So, how about we start with diamonds and then we move over to gemstones? So, tell us about diamonds. As if we hear diamonds, we think about engagement, we think about a big cushion-shaped diamond on your finger
Oh,
for Americans on the left, for Europeans on the right, all kinds of shapes, but it needs to be a diamond. Why is that so, and where does that myth come from?
yeah, it is fascinating, isn't it? I have the same. Whenever I am explaining to people a little bit more about color gemstones, because as you rightly said, most people don't know much about that. I always have to crack or bust the myth on the diamond a little bit. However, more and more millennials seem to be aware of what I'm talking about. And the story resonates with them. They read more on it than perhaps our older generations. But what is it with diamonds? Well, first of all, the first thing I always say is that you have to know that most diamonds are actually not rare, up to 3-4 carats, and of average quality. And you should know that most diamonds in the world actually are of average quality. So the vast majority of diamonds you see in jewelry stores around the world, and you basically see them everywhere, no matter how tiny the village is that you are visiting, when you go to a jewelry store in a tiny village, you will still see diamonds. So that already should give us some indication that they are not that rare as they claim to be, right?
Yeah.
But the myth comes from and I'm sure you know the story or bits and pieces of it, because of a fantastic marketing campaign, a very clever one, that De Beers, the South African mining company, started with in the 1930s. And what they did was so clever because they basically had a difficult mission. They had to create demand for a product, the diamond, while there wasn't any demand for it at the time. Because in Europe, we were under a threat of the Second World War. So there was not a lot of money spent on luxury. And these guys were thinking, the Oppenheimer family, to be precise, who were running the De Beers company at the time. Okay, how do we create demand for this product? Because we happen to have a lot of them in South Africa. But we also don't want to, of course, sell them for a super low price, right? We want to make a healthy profit. So that's why they decided, okay, it doesn't make sense for us to hire a PR agency in Europe right now, because they knew we have to hire a PR agency, but it's not very sensible to do that in Europe now. Where at the moment is it a little bit healthier, the economy? So they decided to hop over to the US and hire a agency in Philadelphia, a famous ad agency, Ayer. I actually don't know exactly how you pronounce it. It's Ayer, and they became world famous with their slogan, "A diamond is forever." They are the ones who created that ad slogan. And what that ad agency did so incredibly cleverly, they did extensive research on how do Americans feel about diamonds. And when they started the research, the emotion around diamonds was not that, hunky-dory or that great. So that's where they had to work together with the agency on a strategy to create emotion around the diamond purchase. They were thinking, how can we, when we know that the product is inherently not valuable, so I have to repeat this, they knew the product was inherently not very valuable at all, because they were sitting on a massive stockpile of diamonds. Nonetheless, how can we create value around it? And the only way how you can do that is to tie into values, to emotional values. And that is why they decided to link it to love and marriage, because that is eternal. So that is how they came up with the slogan, "A diamond is forever." And they did it in such a clever way and in such a drastic, some people say manipulative way. I just read another article about it. It's super interesting. And they had massively deep pockets, could spend a lot on the campaign. So they did TV commercials, radio, magazines, you name it, to such an extent that ultimately men had the feeling that the moment I propose, I need a diamond. Otherwise, the relationship
It's not forever.
It's not forever, or I don't put my best foot forward with this lady. And it even went so far as, you may know this, that in America, people linked the diamond to 1 month's salary in the very beginning.
Yes, I heard about that. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, right. And later they cleverly extended that to 2 months' salary. So the diamond should be at least worth 2 months of your salary, because, this is the love of your life. Wouldn't you be willing to spend that on her? So it was very cleverly done. And besides that advertising campaign, which tied into the emotion, they also did a lot of things in the market, of course, in the mining market itself. They were responsible for stabilizing the diamond price. I say this very politically correct now.
So, they were buying, if I'm not mistaken, they were buying up all of the stock.
Exactly.
Right? Created a complete monopoly of it. That's
yeah.
What I remember.
Yeah, they created a monopoly. They, in the very beginning, they were actually really a mining company, but they soon figured out that you need a lot of capital, and it's extensive operations to be able to sustain that. And then they had a clever idea. What if, instead of mining and doing all the mining ourselves, we just send our agents to every mine in Africa that we know? We stand at the entrance of the mine with our hand up. And the moment the miners come out of the mine, we simply buy up everything that comes out of the earth. The only thing we do is buy, buy, buy. So that's how they were able to create a monopoly and dominate the rough diamond production. And they had about 90% of the rough diamond production in their hands up until the 1980s approximately. Unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And so they also decided to buy up diamonds from other manufacturers. That's how they were able to get such a massive stockpile. And when they sensed that there were too many diamonds in the market, and that the market had been over flooded with diamonds, they cleverly held back some diamonds. The next time they would meet their wholesalers, they simply said, okay, I'm just going to give you fewer diamonds this time, rather than what I gave you last year, because of course, they had to bring up the price again by flooding fewer diamonds in the market. So it was, yeah, it's a total control of the market, right? It's fascinating.
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I have heard so many stories, and specifically also in the UK, when what I have seen is when friends get engaged or anything, it's straight away, show me your ring and where did you buy it? Because there's also these brands that are associated with it, right? The beers, but I would say even more Cartier. They have
Mm-hmm.
really did a market with that as well, and others. And it's yeah, it is really expensive if you look at it. I know as well from some of the diamonds that I have that like the smallest ones are around 25K already, and you have what,
I
like
know.
1.2 carat.
I
And
know.
it's just, and as you said, the quality is like moyen in the middle, but then there's all of these, A to H, or what is that?
Yeah. Oh,
Clarity.
yeah.
Explain that a little bit, because I when I learned about it, I was like, for me, it kind of looks the same. Some are more clear than others, but between a E and a F is not much of a difference, really, isn't there?
No, there isn't. There isn't, especially not for lay consumers. And I include myself among that. It's only diamond dealers with seriously decades of experience who possibly can see that from a small distance, or can judge whether it's an E or an F. Well, EF is very high quality. Well, how diamonds are graded is interesting. And that has been, that entire judgment has been invented by the GIA, the Gemological Institute of America, which is the biggest gemological institute in the world. And they are mainly specialized in diamond grading. And these guys came up with the famous 4 C's. And they stand for, we have to look at the carat weight, so how big the stone is, the clarity, the color, and the cut. And that judgment is so helpful that, or was so helpful for the diamond industry, that across the world, everybody uses that jargon right now. So even if you were to go to Hong Kong or to Antwerp or to New York, everyone understands what you mean when you refer to the 4 C's. And that's the language that is used on international grading certificates as well. And yeah, the color and the color is the C that is absolutely the least important when it comes to diamond grading, which is so fascinating because we have to swap that judgment on its head when we go to color gemstones, where of course it is the most important letter to look at. But for diamonds, the most important characteristic or feature to look at is the cut. It is how excellent the stone is cut. And why is that? It's actually very simple when you realize it. A diamond doesn't have a color. The only thing, the vast majority of them are colorless or white.
Mhm.
So the main asset a diamond has, and why every woman in the world would like one, or at least many women, not every woman, I should say, is because of that sparkle, that rainbow sparkle that pops off a diamond when you move your hand. And that can only be drawn out a diamond when you cut it to perfection. And the stone that has that the most is the famous round brilliant. It has actually been perfected and invented by cutters throughout history. They were always looking for ways like, how can we get more sparkle out of this tricky stone? Because it is the hardest material on earth. And by making it round with a culé, a pointy head, the point that goes at the bottom, we are able to bring out the most sparkle that hits the eye when we look at it from the top. So cutting is one of the most important things to look at. After that, also, we look at color, which is what you refer to. And the color scale does not start at from A to Z, for instance, as you might think. It goes from D to Z. It starts at D. And the letter D means that the diamond will be the whitest and most colorless, if you will, of any of the others. So D is top color. And anything after that will become more yellow or more brownish. So we don't want that basically. But it is true that the stones, for instance, DEF, will be super duper expensive. So many good jewelers or diamond dealers will say, look, what are you going to purchase it for? What do you have in mind? What's your budget? This and that. Do you know that also GHI can be really pretty good white? Because probably we wouldn't see the difference, you know, when it's 1 or 2 letters up or down. So go for a color that's a little bit more yellowish, although we wouldn't see it. Most consumers wouldn't see it, especially when you set it in a ring with gold around it. And that saves you a little bit of your budget. And you can perhaps go for a bigger stone instead. You know, you can look at those 4 C's together and see what is most important for you, and then find the best choice for you. So that's very particular to the diamond trade.
Very interesting. So enough about diamonds. I want to hear about your specialization, which is gemstones. Maybe even get to see some if you have some around, and explain to us, you know, which are the most rarest ones, and how are gemstones then with the different colors being graded.
Yeah. Well, what is interesting to know, first of all, probably, is that when we use the word gemstones, it actually includes diamonds and colored gemstones in it. So when we talk, when gemologists talk about gemstones, we can refer either to diamonds or to colored gemstones, because most diamonds are white. So we have diamonds, colored gemstones on the other side. There are also colored diamonds, but we call them fancy diamonds or colored diamonds. We would never call them colored gemstones. So I specialize in colored gemstones, and especially in stones that most people haven't heard of, because I'm sure you know a few of them, and I've seen you wear a few lovely ones as well. I think you wore blue topaz. You have a beautiful set.
I have a few blue topaz, yes, blue topaz.
Yeah.
I love blue topaz.
Yeah, blue topaz and aquamarine, most people know. Rose quartz, the pinky one, citrine, the yellow one. Most people know those stones. And of course, the ruby, the blue sapphire, and the emerald. But I bet most people haven't heard of stones like the Paraíba tourmaline from Brazil, the tsavorite garnet from the Tsavo Park in Kenya and Tanzania, the Mali garnet, a beautiful yellow stone from Mali in Africa. And these stones are so beautiful that they are being used at the moment by the high jewelry houses in the world. So the likes of Chopard, Chaumet, Piaget, even Christian Dior, they also have a high jewelry line, and they're very funky and fashionable. They use these exquisite stones for their incredible designs. So I totally fell in love with them, of course, when I was in Bangkok. And we have to grade them in a very different way than how we grade diamonds. Diamonds are quite mathematical. The process of judgment is quite mathematical. When you grade them in a lab, you even have a tiny ruler, which is so tiny, you can put it below a microscope and we can literally measure the facet, the table facet of a stone. Color gemstones, not at all. It's perhaps more a judgment of the heart or the eye. As said, we look mainly at color, how intense the color is, how vibrant it is, and the better the color, the higher the value. So the redder the red of a ruby, the bluer the blue of a blue sapphire, the yellower the yellow of this Mali garnet, the higher their price will be. It means that they can have some inclusions inside the stone, so that may not be perfect. The cut may even not be excellent. However, if that color is so exquisite, it will still bring considerable value in the market because they are so rare, far more rare than most diamonds. So I will show you one if you like. Let me see. Do that.
Show us the magic.
The colorful magic. Okay, let me see if I can show it. This is a tanzanite.
Oh yeah. Wow.
Cushion shape. It's square cushion, and this is a stone, as the name may hint already, that is only found in Tanzania, Africa. It's a beautiful blue violet, and it is actually a great alternative for the generally far more expensive blue sapphire. It's also not very cheap, but again, it's better than the blue sapphire in that respect. Yeah, the only place in the world where it's found is around the Mount Kilimanjaro. The stone was discovered around the 60s, 70s, and put on the market by Tiffany's, the American jeweler.
Yeah.
So it's that's a blue violet one. Then I have here another reason actually why most of these stones are not well known, like the ruby or the emerald or blue sapphire, is simply because they're very young. The three that I mentioned before have been in existence for millennia, right? So they've had some marketing head start, so to say. So everybody trusts them, even though the quality is not always fantastic. Now, these stones, or some of them, were only found in the 60s, 70s, or even 80s of the 20th century. So that's why they need more time. This one,
gorgeous.
yeah, it's funky, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is a very rare Paraíba tourmaline. This stone was discovered only in the 1980s in the province of Paraíba in Brazil. Actually, the species, not this one in particular. So originally they came from Paraíba, Brazil, and their blue is so electric that the moment they came on the market, the gem dealers went nuts around the world, and prices went up straight away. And then a few years later, the mine was exhausted already. So everybody was like, oh, great, this is such a pity. We have such a beautiful stone. And then the mine is exhausted.
An
But now,
engagement ring with a stone like that would have much more value than a diamond.
yes, prices of these color stones only go up, especially of the highest quality. So you make sure you have good color. And if on top of that, of course, you do manage to pick a stone with a great cut and a good size, of course, prices only go up, right? So yeah, now the stone is also found, luckily for us, in Africa, in Nigeria and Mozambique. So that is good to know. And then this one, is a tourmaline. You know tourmaline probably, but this is a Lagoon Tourmaline.
That is stunning.
Which is blue-green. You can imagine with diamonds around it or something like that, it becomes a whole other story. And then a very interesting one is this one, a spinel. And spinel has been called...
as well, no?
Sorry?
Wow, that is stunning. I do like red gemstones. I really do like that.
It would suit you very well. It goes very beautifully on your skin tone, and because you're a brunette and brown eyes, I think, or greenish brown. Yeah, it's I agree. Yeah, it's beautiful. And this is also a great alternative for the ruby, the king of gems, right? Who is also stunning, but so rare and so pricey.
Where do you find this one?
Sorry?
This one, where do you find that one?
Well, I find all of them in Bangkok, or these ones I happen to find in Bangkok, because Bangkok is the world's trading hub of colored gemstones. And that is where I studied gemology. So it's the area where I fell in love with gemstones by walking into the building in my classroom and everything. It was a skyscraper, it was massive, like 50 floors, only filled with gem dealers, Tessy. It's like unbelievable. Only filled with gem dealers. So it's only men and women as well, from Thailand, India, China, Afghanistan, Tajikistan, countries that have been dealing with colored gemstones for centuries. They deal the stones there, but the mining, of course, is mostly done elsewhere. So for instance, the stones that I mentioned were mainly mined in Africa, and then they sent the rough gemstones to Bangkok, and the Thai have really become experts in cutting color gemstones and also treating them where necessary. So many of the rough gem dealers around the world send their stuff to Bangkok, where it's all processed and unsold. But the mining is usually from other countries. Thailand produces a little bit of ruby and blue sapphire. It's not the highest quality, but yeah, they do have some stones. but it's mainly Africa, East Africa, that is considered the young mining area these days, which is fascinating to look at and absolutely wonderful to show people these stones, right? To teach them a little bit more about them and the names and what you should be looking out for. And yeah.
This is so fascinating. And I was in Thailand a year ago for
Cool.
and I didn't know that they were doing all of that. I need to watch out when I go next time after Corona, obviously, because this year the summer schools, we can't go to Thailand, sadly.
No.
Yeah, I will definitely look out for that and make sure I look a little bit more into the colored gemstones, because I think there's so much out there that we don't know about. And, you know, we women, we just love gemstones. It's just a love match made in heaven for all of us. Each and every one of us have their own colors, of course. And I think you explaining a little bit more the difference of diamonds and then showing actually rare stones and not just advertised rare stones is really, really helpful also for the future brides to be listening to this. Yeah, I think it's really time to venture out and see and wear some really, really quality rare stones, which you have. So I will make sure as well, because our time has run out, I will make sure I put your website below your link, YouTube link, because I think that some people who might listen to this will be inspired to ask their love with maybe a different stone to get married in other than diamonds. I wish you all the best, Eva. I think this is really beautiful. I thank you for your time. We will speak more offline. And yeah, all the best. Before you go as well, what are your next few days looking like? Still kind of in the Corona hype, but going out a bit more. How is it going?
Still a little bit in the Corona hype. Indeed, you're right. First of all, thank you so much, Tessy, for this conversation. It's absolutely lovely. Thanks so much for your time. And yeah, the Corona in Holland, to be honest, it's a little bit better than in London. People are, you know, opening up their shops a bit more and things like that. So you can walk around the town here in the south in Den Bosch, where I am located now. Or where I am now, actually. So yeah, I try to do more things online. That for me was a good stimulation, the Corona time in that respect, to make some more videos and educate a little bit more on these colored gemstones. So I think that was a good change also to keep in mind for the future, right? To work on other ways to show these beautiful stones to people. So that is my plan. Work on for the next days.
Well, that's really fascinating. And that is actually how we came to the topic of doing this Zoom o'clock, because I did see some of your really interesting videos where you actually talk in depth about one of these stones at a time and really how it works and where do you find them and how you can wear them. So I would encourage everyone listening to this, do go and follow Eva as well. She's on Instagram. She's on all the social medias you can imagine. And of course, available over her website for personal consultation for the brides to be, or for just women like you and me who just like to buy ourselves some gemstones because we want to have them for ourselves. You don't need to have a man to buy yourself a nice piece of jewelry. It's really important as well. We are emancipated women, and I think it's also nice to treat ourselves a little bit from time to time if we can. So on that beautiful note, I let you go now, my dear Eva, and we speak off.
Thank you so much, Tessy.
And thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Have a lovely day.
The same to you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Oops. Bye.